find the way to my dreams tonight, but I know that they'll be gone when in the morning light sings brings new things. But tomorrow night you'll see that they'll be gone too. Too many things I got to do, but if all these dreams might find the way to my day-to-day scene, I'd be under the impression I was somewhere in between, with only two, just me and you. Not too many things we got to do, the places we need to be. We'll sit beneath the mango tree now. Oh, it's always better when we're together. Yeah, we're somewhere in between together. Oh, it's always better when we're together. Yeah, it's always better when we're together.
What's good, guys? Happy Sunday morning. I'm excited about week 2 of our series Campfire Stories. How many of you guys have broken a bone before? And I remember when I was in high school, I broke a leg. It was in wrestling. It was awful. And once it healed, you know what happens, right? If you've ever broken your leg or broken a bone, in particular a leg in this case, you start to put more weight on the other leg, right? Because you have that muscle memory and kind of that mental lapse that, oh, this leg is still hurt. I'm not ready to feel that weakness again. Now, Moses has a story that collides with God's story. As we walk up to his tent, you will see a well-worn difficulty in his face. Now, Moses is actually 80 years old at this point, despite what the actor's age may seem in the photo. But he's 80 years old. Now look at that face. And when his story and God's collide, he has been in fear for a while. Fear of rejection, fear of previous failure, fear of not having the resources to be a success. The people he tried to help actually rejected him. Then the Egyptians reject him too. Moses then runs not only to the desert, but to the back side of the desert, where 40 years later, his soul has marinated in rejection and fear. And here we find ourselves in his story. There's some area, some way fear of rejection has in us, like Moses in the clutches. An interesting article that I read a couple years ago that addressed this identifies the symptoms of rejection. The premise is that in the post-industrial revolution, the biggest impact of the rejection came from the feeling of exploration of sons by fathers. Let's look at a few of these symptoms together that applied to both Moses and us. And if you are going through rejection, God is working that trust muscle to bring joy into your life. Now, as we step into Moses' story this morning, you see firsthand Moses is a great example. He was born during a time when Egyptians not only rejected, but tried to kill all Jewish boys. He had the best Egyptian education possible. You watch him at age 40 as he loses his temper and gets mad. God tries to develop character in us by putting the opposite circumstances in our life than what we are looking for. If you want love, he gives you some hard to love people. If you want comfort, you find times of grief. If you want trust, he may put you in a place of fear and rejection. God is on a mission to develop our trust muscle. He does that by putting us in an atmosphere of rejection sometimes. The first symptom of rejection is easily hurt. If you have some type of past rejection from school, maybe it was from a relationship you want to pursue, and it kind of knocked you off your game, you can start to sound a lot like Charlie Brown. Ugh, why is everybody picking on me? You become so highly sensitized to the hurt and get more emotional or reactive than normal. Perhaps like Moses, have a fear of failure. The pain of a previous divorce of a job situation has never wanted you to do that again, but the scars itch mindset keeps you from moving forward. It can also lead you to suspicious of other people, a withdrawal, or 5, a need for verification. We approach that big who am I question, not just internally, but externally too. If somebody asks us where we go to school, or that big one, what are you planning to do after high school? Where are you going to go to college? Or what are you going to do for your gap year? How do we answer that? Do we just kind of say, oh, this is what I'm going to do? Or do we have this kind of verbal vomit, which is, oh, we basically just give this person our resume when all they asked is, hey, where are you going to college? Or where do you go to school right now? Because we need to kind of verify ourselves to them. And I think I'm guilty as just as anyone. So today we're going to look at 4 questions Moses had that we might have too. And as you step into this tent with Moses, we might find him reflecting on his previous failures and his rejection over the last 40 years that caused him to question God. He remembers committing murder years earlier. He remembers people rejecting him. He remembers the failure of his last venture. And God offers him the confidence and competence he needs again. One night when he is his most discouraged, as God speaks to Moses, he is speaking to you too. He speaks to our questions, he speaks to your doubts, and he speaks to them in a very specific way. Moses wonders if God is real. He wonders, like we do, whether God cares about injustice, that I should go to the Pharaoh and I should bring the children of Israel out of Egypt. This is what Moses asked. As we know, rejection can cause a level of stress that causes us to question our very identity. We lose a job. We don't get the grade that we thought we deserved. We exit a relationship. And that was our identity. We were the captain of that team. We were the person that did this and that. And now we aren't. We weren't cut out. And this happens during college a lot too, or maybe it was from junior high to high school, that stuff that used to work for you, the tricks that you had before that worked for you for that sport or that theater or whatever it was, don't work now. And we kind of lose our natural confidence and self-assurance. But God gives us a powerful promise. We continue. Exodus chapter 3, verse 12. God offers a simple promise to Moses. And as you face your fear, as you head back into that area of your biggest example of rejection, I will certainly be with you. If you are seeking God or you're new to checking faith, you may wonder, how is anything certain? As you compare religions, remember talking philosophy backing. No. If you are seeking God or new to checking out faith, you may wonder, how is anything certain? We've heard things about the journey is more important than the destination, or it's the questions, not the answers that we find, and yet that's only left us wanting more. We want to know if we can be certain about anything besides uncertainty. And God offers certainty to us. You can know that God today, you can know that He is with you. You can know that He'll be with you in difficulty. You can know that you are not alone in this purpose. The second question Moses had, and has to do with rejection, is the question of our confidence. What shall I say? Exodus chapter 3:13. Indeed, when I come to the children of Israel and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they say to me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? Now Moses has already been rejected by this group of people who he was sent to set free. But God says, go back and try again. That idea makes Moses question his confidence. Well, what shall I say? It didn't work last time. And God addresses that by giving Moses a plan. Now that plan is as true for you and me and our story as it was for theirs. God gives us a plan. God communicates a 5-part to his plan as he talks with Moses. He may be talking to you and God says, I'm concerned about you. I have great possibilities for you. Don't let the slave mindset hold you back. You can break the lids and limits you've placed on yourself, hiding from fear, failure, and rejection. You are just as enslaved to fear in the wilderness as the people are in slavery. And third point is, I have a responsibility for you to keep me first. 4, it won't be easy. And 5, you have a God factor. Egyptians will love you, can give you food, clothes, and money, and you'll walk out rich from Egypt. And Moses 4 times through verses 16 through question my credibility. What if they don't believe me? Exodus chapter 4, verse 1. Then Moses answered the Lord and said, but suppose they will not believe me or listen to my voice. Suppose they say the Lord has not appeared to you. Makes sense. I mean, he's walking back into Egypt and he's like, hey, I saw God in a burning bush. When there people will be like, what is this guy smoking? That's what Moses is thinking. Now, rejection leads to a credibility problem. What if people won't believe me? What if I don't have what it takes to face the next challenge? What if people reject me again? What if people doubt me, reject me, and hurt me again? Am I too old? Do I still have what it takes? Can I do this? These are all questions that we have as well when it comes to rejection. But here's the key. God gives us power. Now, the staff that God gave Moses represented God's power as a shepherd. Staff was livelihood. God saying, put down your livelihood. Put down your fears. Put down your detour lifestyle. As Moses put it, put down the rod. As Moses put it down, the rod of Moses turns into a snake. And the snake is a symbol of selfishness. And God says, pick it up by the tail. Trust me. I'll be shouting, not by the tail. He picked it up and turned this into a staff of God. Now, what's the application to that? Now, you might be thinking, I've heard about these snake handlings in churches. You are looking around for rattlers to come out. No, that's not the application. That's lunacy. The power of God offers this. When we give something over to God and lay it down, God can use it in a powerful way. The same staff that represented his running from God and God's plan, once he lays it down, God gives back the power to him, and with the power to be used in a new chapter of his life. His shepherding skills and knowledge of the desert, as well as the top-notch Egyptian education, will make him the perfect ambassador for God's work with the Pharaoh. So think about this. What is your Egypt right now? The place that represents your fear, your rejection, or your unknown. What would I do differently if I knew God was with me? What staff do I need to lay down to move forward? It may be bitterness. It may be a need for safety, comfort, willing to be hurt again. And as he wrote down this, realize rejection caused us the question, but God offers a joy story to us right where we are. We face our fear with his presence, plan, and power. Moses' story is our story, and God wants to collide his story with our story to form a joy story with us, even in our rejection and in our fear.